So I was just going to quickly start with some housekeeping. People probably seen, but toilets out the door here to the right. Similarly, for if there's an emergency, follow the green signs out to the right, and we just assemble out the front in the car park, and staff will help direct you on the way. In terms of agenda today, firstly we'll hear from the Nzx Chair, James Miller, with a welcome and strategic overview. Then an address from Mark Peterson, CEO, with a report on financial and business performance. We'll then head into the formal part of the meeting. We have 3 resolutions today. The usual resolution to authorise directors to set audit fees for 2021. The re-election of Nigel Babbage as a director, and similarly for Lindsay Wright. So we'll tend to voting. We'll have an address from John Mcdonald, who's retiring as a director today after 8 years on the board, and then we will move to questions. We've got a couple received already online, and then we will welcome you for refreshments afterwards. So I'll hand over to James Miller.
Thanks, Hamish. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for joining us for Nzx's 2021 Annual Shareholder Meeting. My name is James Miller. I'm the Chair of Nzx. On behalf of your directors, the Chief Executive, our leadership team and all the people at Nzx, a very warm welcome to our shareholders here in Tauranga and those who are joining us online. It's great to be here in the Bay of Plenty today. There's nothing like being able to catch up in person with local owners. We've been fortunate to have been able to get to Dunedin, Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland over the last couple of years with our 150th celebrations. As Chair of Nzx, I'm excited about the potential that technology offers with our hybrid meeting today, meaning we can extend participation to shareholders in other locations and connect with more of you and reduce the need for travel. The past year has taught us a lot about how technology can bridge the distance, and anything that can bring us closer together with our Nzx shareholder community is definitely the future. So thank you again for you who are following the meeting online on the online portal. Shareholders participating online will be able to ask questions, and you can submit these at any time using the tab at the bottom of your screen. I encourage shareholders who have questions relating to the business of the meeting to send the questions through as soon as possible. Please note that only shareholders, proxy holders or shareholder company representatives may vote. Shareholders will be able to cast their vote online using the voting tab, where you'll need to enter the CSN holder number for validation. Please refer to the virtual meeting online portal guide or contact the team at link 0800 200 220 if you require assistance. For those in the room, our directors and management team always enjoy these opportunities, so please stay on after today's meeting for refreshments. Now to the introductions. If everyone can put the hand up. I'm pleased to introduce to you the Nzx board: Frank Aldridge, Nigel Babbage, Elaine Campbell. Ooh, I missed you, Richard. Okay, so Richard Bodman. I'll do Elaine again. Elaine Campbell, John Mcdonald, John McMahon, who is with us from Australia, good, and Lindsay Wright, who is with us from Hong Kong, and Hayley Buckley, our future director. I'd like to take this opportunity before we formally open the meeting to say a couple of thank yous. Firstly, to John Mcdonald, who moves from the board table today to our Nzx alumni. John is retiring by rotation after serving 8 years on the board and is not seeking re-election. It has been an absolute pleasure serving with you, John, and what a significant contribution you have made over your 3 terms as a director of Nzx. John is one of those directors who's very adept at balancing all the competing perspectives and inherent tensions in governance, and never lets emotion get away of a good decision. My sincere thanks to John, best wishes for the future. The good news is we know that he'll continue to bring these wonderful skills and experience to governance of a number of other well-known Nzx-listed corporates. John will share some thoughts with us later in the meeting. I'd also like to thank Hayley Buckley, our future director, who ends her term on 30th of June this year. Hayley is managing partner in the corporate team at the up-and-coming Auckland law firm Wynne Williams. She is also a director of Snowball Effect, the leading private equity investment marketplace, and now accredited as an Nzx sponsor participant. We've been fortunate to have another future director of high calibre with strong market connections and knowledge. You have made an excellent contribution to the board discussion, particularly in terms of market development initiatives and with the value of your legal expertise. What an interesting time it has been to be with Nzx, and we've really enjoyed having you on the journey with us. Completing the management introductions, also sitting with the board are our CEO Mark Peterson, CFO Graham Law, and Company Secretary Hamish Mcdonald. And we have most of the senior leadership team in the audience here at the meeting. I'm pleased to confirm that we have a quorum and therefore can declare the 2021 Annual Shareholders Meeting of Nzx open. I concluded our annual meeting last year talking about the challenging environment ahead for everyone, with increased pressure on our team at Nzx, and particularly for listed companies facing the impact of COVID-19, needing to recapitalise their balance sheets. 2020 was a difficult year for many sectors in the economy, but with the challenges, the value of having ready access to capital has been so evident for New Zealand businesses. We have also seen the most significant re-engagement with equities as an investment class in the past 30 years. Retail participation has been at levels never seen before in the share market, and I want to give some credit where it's due. We celebrated the arrival of Sharesies as an Nzx trading and clearing participant less than 2 years ago, and wow, what a supercharged start they've had, together with ASB Securities helping boosting retail participation from about 19% by value and 45% of volume, of total traded volume at the year end 2020. The popularity of online retail trading platforms is burgeoning, and that's about easier, low-cost access for DIY investors, which is positive both for our market and spurring interest and investment in our issuers. Trading volumes and value reached new levels, up 149% and 42% respectively. The benchmark S&P Nzx 50 ended 2020 in record territory, up a further 14% on the substantial lift we saw in the previous year, delivering once again a strong result, particularly relative to other global markets. However, this was a challenging year for many of our issuers with income and balance sheet stress. FY 2020 showcased the vital role of capital markets to a well-functioning and resilient economy. Nzx enabled Kiwi companies to access billions of dollars of much-needed equity and debt capital, giving them the strength in a very tough and uncertain economic environment. And I have to say the support and innovation across the capital markets ecosystem over the past year from lead managers, banks and advisors behind new listings and secondary issuance has been especially encouraging. I'm pleased to report we've been busy ringing the listing bell to welcome a new cohort of companies to the New Zealand Exchange. Our pipeline has never been stronger. Nzx is seen as a place to come for capital, and there is a wide range of opportunities come to the market in different ways, reflecting the options that we've opened up. This includes the possibility of some equity listings of very significant scale prospects that could have a positive impact on Nzx. Nzx is a Kiwi company working hard to grow the New Zealand economy, supporting the resilience and long-term success of our customers as a strength for our country. As the New Zealand Exchange, we are the meeting point for buyers and sellers at the heart of the capital markets ecosystem. The digitisation of modern trading is a far cry from our origins in the 1860s, where the Dunedin Brokers Association met once a week to trade mining and banking stocks, insurance, shipping or government debentures. And we want to bring back some of the tradition and have a place where we can celebrate with you as the owners and a wider constituency. I'm pleased to be able to announce today that we're hosting next year's annual meeting at the New Zealand Capital Market Centre, a new Wharenui in Auckland. This has been a vision of mine for some time, to have a space we can be truly proud of in the heart of New Zealand's biggest city, the economic nerve centre. It's exciting to think that we'll be opening the doors and relocating the Auckland team in the second half of this year. And the Nzx ticker will have a new home, taking pride in place above Queen Street. The New Zealand Capital Market Centre will modernise and reorientate our work environment for the new normal, but also give us an opportunity to showcase what Nzx does and our heritage over the past 150 years. Our plan is to welcome the New Zealand capital markets to our meeting house, where we can showcase what Nzx does for the country and communities. We hope the ecosystem sees the New Zealand capital markets as its own. The new office will be highly functional, designed to host listing events, small hybrid meetings for issuers, investor presentations, enabling media and digital broadcasts, along with the potential to bring community groups and school tours closer to the heart of our business. We're doing all of this while keeping tight control on costs around the move and the setup. The office will be an important milestone in Nzx's history, a place you can enjoy with us, and you now have your personal invitation to the 2022 annual shareholders meeting. Before I turn to the results, I would like to draw your attention to important developments over the past year around Nzx's global partnerships, including the one we're in the final stages of confirming with Singapore Exchange. We signed the heads of agreement in October last year with SGX in relation to a global partnership to grow Nzx's dairy derivatives market together. This is a non-binding agreement to explore the listing of the Nzx suite of dairy derivative contracts on the SGX trading and clearing platforms, which would be a showcase example of commercialising Nzx's international alliance strategy and propel future growth of our dairy derivatives suite. Our strategy refresh in 2017 clearly identified the importance of developing greater breadth of distribution and trading functionality. Through this potential global partnership with a large international exchange such as SGX, there's an opportunity to unlock and accelerate growth and liquidity and market scale. These alliances has been seen by your board as a key growth opportunity for Nzx, and they're also important and offer mutual benefit for our partners focusing on growth together with us. Shareholders should expect further announcements in this area as the years progress. Looking back at our results for 2020, released in February, these showcased a step change in growth with a further lift in earnings. This has been another year of financial delivery, and the environment has supported the growth of Nzx's operating earnings to a new high of 34.4 million, slightly above the guidance range. Your board declared a final dividend of 3.1 cents per share paid on the 26th of March, contributing to an FY 2020 dividend of 6.1 cents per share, fully imputed. First-class regulation is an important part of a healthy, well-functioning capital markets. A year ago, we announced a fundamental change to Nzx's regulatory function to further separate the exchange's commercial and regulatory roles. I describe this as groundbreaking in the 150-year history of the New Zealand capital markets, aligning with best global practice similar to the Singapore Exchange in terms of structure, governance and operating model. These recommendations came out of a full review of Nzx's regulatory operating model, which was prompted by the increasing complexity of the governance arrangements we have in place. And today we have Nzx Regco, the new regulatory operating model and governance model in place, led by Chief Executive Joost van der Amersfoort. Nzx Regco is governed by an independent board chaired by Trevor James, with board members Elaine Campbell, Mike Heron QC, John Hawkins and Annabelle Cotton. Nzx Regco has been in place since early December, and we have seen a seamless transition for our issuers and participant customers. This time last year was an extraordinary window for the New Zealand capital markets, and we've seen very rapid escalation in the level of trading activity, which exposed some stresses within specific elements of our market infrastructure. This disrupted trading over a number of days, and I want to formally apologise on behalf of the Nzx board and restate our commitment to significantly invest in our systems to do everything we can to make sure this does not happen again. I also want to express my appreciation again for the support and collaboration across the market, particularly the back offices of the participants, that meant all trading activity could be cleared and settled each day through this period. We have acknowledged, as has the Financial Markets Authority, that we did not meet our own high standards in certain areas of our technology systems as a result of these volume-related issues, and also with regard to unrelated cyber attacks in August. We know the integrity and performance of our information technology systems is vital to all market participants, along with the ongoing need to plan for rising demands and risks. Your board acted decisively post these events. We commissioned 2 separate external reviews from EY and cyber experts in FISIC, and we have acted on the recommendations to ensure our IT and cyber security processes are stable and secure and fit for the future. We shared our external reports with Nzx's regulator, the FMA, and the FMA also completed its own review into these incidents, finding that Nzx breached its obligations as a licensed market operator to have sufficient technological resources. Nzx is in the process of agreeing an action plan with the FMA in response to its report on these matters. As part of the governance response, one of the steps taken in response to the issues was the establishment of a permanent technology committee to assist the board in its oversight of the role and use of technology in executing Nzx's strategy. We also confirmed our commitment to create industry-wide IT working group to improve the engagement and communication with the wider market ecosystem. on technology matters and support the development of the industry-wide technology roadmap, which was a recommendation of Capital Markets 2029. We hosted the inaugural meeting of this group a week ago, and we are looking forward to closer engagement and cooperation with the capital markets technology ecosystem. Nzx has recognised the need for further investment above our current program to work to enhance stability and resilience and deliver other improvements, confirming additional spend on people and systems in 2021. We've come out of the year battle-hardened on the tech front, and we have a new Chief Information Officer who joined Nzx in February, Robert Douglas, and is leading the work program. Mark will introduce Robert shortly. We're also pleased to announce today the appointment of Peter Jessup as an external member of the Technology Committee to replace John Mcdonald. Peter is a specialist global expert in stock exchange computer systems with 23 years working in senior roles for NASDAQ, and he'll bring independent thinking and global perspective. The appointment reflects the need for high-quality specialist expertise to underpin the governance supporting the resilience and stability and further evolution of Nzx's technology framework. I consider Peter's broad range of skills to be second to none, especially when paired with his deep understanding of stock exchanges. It's extremely valuable to us that he's applying those skills and deep knowledge back to Nzx for the future, for the benefit and future of the New Zealand capital markets. Peter joins John McMahon as chair of our Technology Committee and Richard Bodman, who collectively bring strong governance and IT knowledge from the financial sector. As I said in our annual report this year, what has been most pleasing is the repositioning of Nzx under the strategic direction under Mark Peterson's leadership. This has been recognised by the market with strong appreciation in Nzx's share price and the total shareholder return, TSR, of 50.3% for the year end of 31st of December 2020. We reset our strategy back in 2017, which was simply about removing blockages, creating a platform to growth for Nzx and our markets. We are focused on delivering market development initiatives, particularly in areas of listed fund and debt, including wholesale and green bonds. This included the completion of the first holistic review of the market structure and rule set in 15 years, with the introduction of a bespoke set of fund rules that have significantly reduced the cost of listing for these issuers. As we delivered internal initiatives building on the core, de-risking Nzx's balance sheet and rebuilding customer relations, Capital Markets 2029 brought the capital markets ecosystem together to deliver a common vision and purpose for growing New Zealand capital markets. When you look at the encouraging TSR trend, this is a recognition of Nzx performance, and we've been very deliberate about the milestones, doing what we said we'd do, and showing proof points of progress. Thank you to our shareholders for your patience and support during the early stages of repositioning the company. Today, we have a business with considerable momentum that you can have real pride on as owners of Nzx. Turning to FY 2021 earnings guidance, Nzx has today updated full year 2021 operating earnings to be in the range of 32 million to 35.5 million. Your board believes it's appropriate to tighten the bottom of the range now that we have more certainty on incremental technology costs. The guidance is subject to the usual caveats, including market outcomes, and assumes no material adverse events such as significant one-offs, unforeseeable circumstances, or acquisitions or divestments. Before I hand over to Chief Executive Mark Peterson, I want to say a special thanks to my board. You have shouldered an immense workload throughout the year. These have been very trying circumstances where governance has been to the fore. We had 41 meetings of the Technology Committee alone last year, and that has just been for the 9 months since it's been formed in April. On this note of director workload, I want to signal that we'll be bringing a recommendation back to shareholders next year on director remuneration once we have the necessary independent analysis completed. It's coming up to 10 years since we last reviewed directors' remuneration. If we want to be able to continue to attract the quality of governance we require at Nzx, we need to be making sure we're in line benchmarked with other listed companies of similar scale, complexity, and with comparable demands from committees and board workloads. Finally, and most importantly, a shout out to our people for the effort and flexibility they've shown in 2020. The past year has been incredibly challenging, and the outcomes for our customers and ourselves have come from teamwork and collaboration across the entire capital markets ecosystem. While there's been some important learnings in 2020 as Chair, I could not be more proud of our team at Nzx has delivered for our shareholders, our customers and our country. Well done and thank you.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. My name is Mark Peterson, and I'm the Chief Executive at Nzx, and I'm very pleased to address you, our owners, today. When I spoke at our annual shareholders meeting at the end of March last year, we were going into an uncertain and extremely volatile environment. This has provided opportunities which we have taken, and some very big challenges which we have had to deal with. We've learned a lot, and we will be better for it. Our people have been amazing, showing huge strength and resilience, and the business has good momentum with plenty of growth options in front of us. It's great to have most of the leadership team here today, and I'd like to mention a couple of people. Firstly, Sarah Minhinnick, who's on the corner down here, joined us going into lockdown last year and has now been with us for a full year as our Head of Issuer Relationships. We've been in extraordinary times, but while difficult, new listed products have remained a core focus, and we are pleased to have a healthy pipeline of potential listings across equity, debt and funds, due in many ways to the effort from Sarah's team and positive market conditions. Robert Douglas, who's also on the left down here, joined the company's senior leadership team as Chief Information Officer earlier this year. Robbie leads the information technology functions across Nzx Group, including the program of further investment from 2021, particularly in the markets businesses, to enhance the stability, resilience of the company's technology framework. He will spearhead Nzx's engagement with market participants and other key stakeholders to help deliver a technology roadmap for New Zealand's capital markets. Robbie's background spans the banking, capital markets and payment sectors. Robbie is no stranger to delivering complex real-time technology services, and his expertise in leading large teams is ideal for the work we have underway to solve our technology platforms. 2020 was an extraordinary year for Nzx. Our performance reflects the growing momentum that has been building over the past 3 years and was accelerated due to the impact of COVID. This helped support growth for Nzx, albeit, as the Chair referenced, the rapid expansion of trading volumes caused challenges to parts of our technology infrastructure. This growth is reflected in our operating results and financial performance for the full year of 2020. And we have taken the lessons from the operational challenges, acting on them to improve. A key focus for the current year is on operational excellence. When you look at our performance in 2020, this is where you will see momentum. In each of our key metrics, there is a picture of positive, robust growth across all aspects of our business. 17.6 billion of capital was raised, was more than 50% above our expectations and similar to the very good year we had in 2019. Debt market issuance came back strongly in the second half of last year, including $825 million of green bonds. Smart Shares and Wealth Technologies are continuing to grow well and delivering value for Nzx shareholders. Global volatility, a low interest rate environment and greater post-COVID interest in investing helped push trading volumes to record levels. By June 2020, Nzx's secondary markets had eclipsed the total number of trades executed for the full year of 2019, and by early September, the total value traded had surpassed that of 2019. Overall, there was a 42% increase in the value traded for the full year to 53.7 billion, compared to 37.8 billion the previous year. We laid the foundations in our 2017 strategy to deliver improved liquidity to the market, removing the fixed fee elements of trade fees and improving the rule set to support price transparency and attracting new participants and investors to Nzx. Alongside the increase in value traded across Nzx, we continue to observe growth in on-market liquidity levels, which have now been normalised above 60% of all activity. The value of traded liquidity originating from retail, institutional and proprietary sources accounted for approximately 18%, 70% and 12% respectively. This is encouraging, indicating the growth in the market was across all investor segments. We have also seen a significant expansion of our depository business, with assets under custody up 38% for the year to 4.8 billion. Our depository growth has been an important strategic focus for us, and the continued growth has increased efficiencies for the New Zealand market and enabled Nzx to participate in the final stage of the security settlement value chain. Beyond our operational focus in New Zealand, we continue to progress our global strategy to secure partnerships that offer complementary capabilities and strength as we grow New Zealand's capital markets business. BNP Paribas is expected to become a general clearing participant during the first half of this year. This is a positive signal about the potential in our markets to have another high-quality global bank with a strong regional clearing footprint, strengthening their commitment to assist in growing New Zealand's markets. Under our partnership with the European Energy Exchange, we have also launched the first auction for the New Zealand Emissions Trading Scheme. The New Zealand ETS is one of New Zealand Government's main tools for meeting domestic and international climate policy targets. And a particular success of the first auction was the strong uptake across key sectors of New Zealand's economy. The level of interest and direct participation from major industries such as manufacturing and transport, along with forestry sector and private interests, was a tremendous vote of confidence in what we have delivered with EEX. Together, we have established a fair, transparent, easy to access and efficient allocation mechanism for NZUs, or emissions units, on behalf of the New Zealand Government. We're really proud to be part of this important milestone and what it means in terms of New Zealand and the global transition to a low emissions future. The latest example is a potential strategic partnership agreement with our Singapore exchange friends to unlock and accelerate the growth and potential of dairy derivatives. The aim is to scale up market distribution and accelerate liquidity in the global dairy derivatives markets. And as the Chair mentioned, we expect to make an announcement shortly on this proposed new partnership, which will see Nzx delist its suite of dairy derivatives contracts on Nzx and relist them on SGX. Market participants could expect augmented access via new trading and clearing channels. Under the partnership, Nzx would continue to provide dairy product development expertise, market research, and product support for new developments or enhancements. We would also continue to lead engagements with the dairy industry. The Chair talked about the support we are seeing in the broader financial ecosystem that's assisting in the growth of our markets. And this includes the investment banks, law firms, and corporate advisory houses. There is a real sense of optimism building, evidenced by the listings we have seen in both 2020 and more recently this year. As part of our refresh strategy, we have made ecosystem development a priority, and this includes dedicating more resources into deepening the pool of prospects, along with widening and lifting the promotion and awareness of pathways for companies to list. During the year, we saw the first listings under the new direct and foreign exempt rules. We expect direct listings to be a popular pathway for accessing the benefits of the listed market. The current environment has emphasised the strong value of an NZX listing and the access to equity or debt capital that being listed on NZX provides. Our sales and marketing focus has been on promoting the market to companies who may benefit from having access to capital or to owners who may want to release capital for other purposes. Since the release of our half-year results in August, when we reported on the reverse listing of Me Today, we have welcomed 8 new companies to NZX. The spectrum of these mirrors the pathways we have been opening up for issuers, from Radius Care as the first company under the direct listing rules, along with the ASX-listed Auckland Real Estate under our new foreign exempt provisions. Harmony was a new dual-listed IPO, Rua Bioscience was an IPO, along with the final listing of 2020 being New Zealand Rural Land Company. We have kicked off the new year with Third Age Health, New Zealand Automotive Investments, and My Food Bag. The Rua Bioscience listing in October was special for a couple of reasons. Firstly, through the 2 locations for the celebration, connecting us in Tamaki Makaurau through to the Oeapauhatu marae in Ruatoria on the east coast. It was also significant in highlighting the potential of the Māori economy and how we can work with purpose-driven enterprises in the regions to help create local jobs and sustainable growth. It's been fantastic to see Rua's journey from the fledgling business founded in 2017. While Rua continues to develop and grow in a global market, one thing we can be sure of is that their roots will be back here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. As the Chair said, we have never been in better shape. Our near-term book looks pretty full, but it goes without saying that it's also exciting to see the discussion around potential listings of scale that would be hugely positive and fantastic additions to NZX. Smartshares continues to grow. Funds under management increased to more than 5 billion at year end, up 28%, and exceeding the 2023 goal we set ourselves under our growth strategy. During the year, we attracted more than $800 million of net new investor cash. Key initiatives included the launch of the Smartshares Core Series, with New Zealand's lowest cost fund tracking the S&P NZX 50, and Select KiwiSaver, our first third-party hosted scheme. As the market leader in exchange-traded funds, it has been encouraging to see some institutional investors starting to move into passive investment products through the Smartshares ETFs and its unlisted passive products, mirroring global trends. A range of leading New Zealand wholesale and advisor platforms now utilise Smartshares, enabling financial advisors to access our unlisted passive funds for the first time. Our Nzx Wealth Technologies business recorded growth of more than 210% this year, with funds under administration reaching more than 7 billion. The successful onboarding of Hobson Wealth Partners, completed in November, added 3 billion on its own. We now have more than 28,000 portfolios being managed through our wealth management platform. The addition of Hobson Wealth is a significant milestone and reflects confidence that we have in the path for continued long-term growth, following JB Ware and Saturn Advice, joining Craig's Investment Partners on the new platform this year. Late in the year, we also announced that Nzx Wealth Technologies had retained the public trust business after participating in a competitive tender process. Nzx Wealth Technologies is currently engaged with a number of new prospects for project activity and expects to see continued growth in 2021. We have already had confirmation that Nzx Wealth Tech has been successful with 2 RFPs for new clients, and they will be onboarded this year. All of this activity has highlighted that the listed market can deliver reliable, liquid and open access to investment in New Zealand for all investors, so everybody can support and benefit from the success of Kiwi companies. Nzx has also been considering the next stage of its strategy. As part of this, we have explored the business models of other exchanges globally and how those might apply here in New Zealand. We will be continuing to build a more diversified exchange. Our funds management and wealth technologies businesses are already growing strongly, and with greater scale, we have the additional opportunity to leverage these further to drive greater growth back into our capital markets businesses. We see them very much as core to the future and the growth of Nzx. 2020 created significant opportunities and learnings for Nzx, closely aligned with our focus on helping build New Zealand's tomorrow. We have been able to reset our business for the new normal, and with this performance refocus our business with both an operational excellence and growth mindset. I talked earlier about my confidence in our team to step up. This is a picture of our 2020 Supreme Chair Award winner, Emma Dent, who's in our Markets Development and Clearing team, who not only took out the year's top honour, but is a perfect example of how we are developing our talent. What I see across our business is a team energised by the vital role we have in supporting others and ensuring the exchange in our country can successfully adapt and move forward. In the year ahead, we will be building on the lessons from an extraordinary 2020 to further strengthen our infrastructure and drive growth and health in our markets. And before I hand back to James, thank you, our owners, for your strong support and confidence in Nzx. I look forward to updating you at our half-year results in August. Thank you. Ooh.
Thank you, Mark. We now move to the formal business of the day. All items are ordinary resolutions and are required to be passed by a simple majority, being more than 50% of the eligible votes cast. The resolutions that we'll be voting on today are as follows. Resolution 1, auditors' fees. Resolution 2, the re-election of Nigel Babbage as a Director of Nzx. Resolution 3, re-election of Lindsay Wright as a Director of Nzx. As stated in the voting proxy form, all voting at today's meeting will be by way of poll. Accordingly, in my capacity as Chair, I require that a poll to be held for each of the resolutions. Shareholders on Link's virtual meeting platform will be able to cast their vote using the electronic voting card received when online registration is validated. Voting will be open until the close of the meeting. Please refer to the virtual meeting portal guide or use the helpline 0800 200 220. To vote, you'll need to click Get Voting Card within the online meeting platform, and you'll be asked to enter the shareholder or proxy number to validate. Please then mark your voting card in the way you wish to vote by clicking For, Against or Abstain on the voting card. Once you've made your selection, please select Submit Vote on the bottom of the card to lodge your vote. Voting will remain open until 5 minutes after the conclusion of the meeting, and the results of the vote will be announced via the market announcement on nzx.com. Your board supports each of the resolutions and intends to vote undirected proxies in favour of these 3 resolutions. I will introduce each of the resolutions in turn for discussion. Resolution 1 relates to the board being authorised to fix the fees and expenses of KPMG as the company's auditor for 2021 financial year. KPMG is the current auditor of NZX. I move as an ordinary resolution the board be authorised to determine the auditor's fees and expenses for the 2021 financial year. Are there any questions from the floor on this resolution? Just for questions, if people can state their name for the record. Are there any questions on this matter for shareholders joining online? Okay, there appears to be no further discussion. Resolution 2 relates to the re-election of Nigel Babbage. Nigel was appointed a director of NZX in December 2017. Nigel retires by rotation in accordance with the listing rules and offers himself for re-election. The board recommends Nigel Babbage to you as a director of NZX and unanimously supports his re-election. Being eligible, Nigel has confirmed he is available for re-election, and I invite Nigel to address the meeting on his proposed re-election.
Thank you, James. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen and fellow shareholders. It is truly a humbling experience to be standing here today and offering myself for re-election by shareholders to the Board of Directors of New Zealand's Exchange. I am passionate about New Zealand and believe in New Zealand's capital markets. My wish is to serve and utilise my 36 years of international capital markets experience to assist in the governance of NZX. This responsibility is not taken lightly, and I will endeavour to uphold the highest levels of professionalism in my duties. Having worked around the world in finance, I feel I have a breadth of international experience that is applicable to the stock exchange. I have managed risk through share market crashes, the Russian debt crisis, the Asian financial crisis, the dot-com bubble burst, and global financial crisis. Global derivative risk, trading and sales teams, and disaster recovery operations have all fallen under my mandate. Outside of capital markets, my interests lie in the field of native bird conservation, especially in the South Island. I'm currently Deputy Chair of the New Zealand Conservation Trust. I believe in discipline before creativity and that organisations must be nimble and quick. My experience has taught me that hard decisions are best to be made early, and I promise to discharge my duties with honesty and integrity. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Nigel. That's very nice. I move as an ordinary resolution that Nigel Babbage be re-elected as a director. Are there any questions from the floor on this resolution? Are there any questions online on this resolution?
No.
Okay, there are no questions on this matter. And there doesn't appear to be further discussion. Resolution 3 relates to the re-election of Lindsay Wright. Lindsay Wright was appointed a director of NZX in February 2018. Lindsay retires by rotation in accordance with the listing rules and offers herself for re-election. The board recommends Lindsay Wright to you as a director of NZX and unanimously supports her re-election. Being eligible, Lindsay has confirmed she is available for re-election. I invite Lindsay to address the meeting on her proposed re-election.
Good morning, shareholders. My name is Lindsay Wright, and I stand before you this morning to seek re-election as the Director of Nzx Limited. You'll be aware of my background from the materials. However, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about myself. Firstly, I have strong domain knowledge and experience in financial services over a period of 30 years, both here in New Zealand and globally, principally in capital markets and asset management. In particular, I have very deep asset management experience across the entire value chain: management, governance, strategy, investment, public, private, active, passive and alternatives, operations, trading, data and technology and risk. Secondly, I have extensive commercial experience, not just in functional roles, but as a CEO and as a regional global leader. I'm currently CEO of Funds Management for Sun Hung Kai, based here in Hong Kong. I've previously held APAC CEO roles and head of regional roles for global leading asset managers, the Bank of New York Mellon Investment Management, Invesco, Deutsche Asset Management and Matthews Asia. Plus, I had the opportunity to lead the alternatives unit of Harvest Funds Management, China's second largest fund manager. I've successfully grown businesses both organically and inorganically and bring this perspective to the NZX. I importantly understand regulation. I've operated in highly regulated businesses and markets my entire career and understand the importance of regulation and its critical role in protecting investors, maintaining orderly markets and promoting financial stability. Importantly, I have demonstrable experience and a diverse background in governance. I've held executive directorship roles for regulated asset managers, securities firms and banks across the region, and I've also held a range of non-executive directorship roles here in the New Zealand market, with the Guardians of the New Zealand Super Fund, where I was Deputy Chair and Chair of Audit and Risk, and Kiwi Bank. I'm also a Fellow of the Hong Kong Institute of Directors and a member of Women on Boards. Given my global experience, I have a strong understanding of foreign public markets and international investors. Having run businesses for some of the world's largest global asset managers here in the region, who manage money on behalf of the largest and most sophisticated regional investors, investing in public markets and including the New Zealand market. With a significant proportion of investors by value being offshore investors on the NZX, I have an important perspective to offer the board and the NZX. I have a strong understanding of the need and value of diversity. I'm culturally very aware and have lived and worked around the world: Auckland, Sydney, Tokyo, Singapore, New York, Beijing, Hong Kong. I strongly value diversity, but especially diversity of thought. I know this leads to better outcomes, and I bring this important perspective to the NZX. And finally, I'm intellectually curious. I'm passionate about the role, purpose and importance that an efficient and well-run capital markets ecosystem contributes to both economies and individuals. I believe in the further development and success of New Zealand's capital markets, of which NZX is at the centre. As you're aware, I was elected to the NZX board 3 years ago, and I currently hold the following responsibilities. I'm the NZX Lead Independent Director. I chair the NZX Audit and Risk Committee. I'm Chair of Smart Shares Limited, NZX wholly owned asset management subsidiary, and I'm a member of the NZX Nominations Committee. Through the period, I've also been a member of the NZX Clearing Committee. The last 3 years has passed very quickly. I'm proud of the progress that we've made in the repositioning of NZX through deliberate strategic change that we've implemented. This has led to a step change in growth for NZX. I believe we've built a more robust business and capital markets platform with stronger sustainable value for you, the shareholders. We've also taken meaningful steps with our long-term goal of becoming a more vibrant and diverse participant in New Zealand's capital markets ecosystem. We've encountered some challenges along the way and remain very focused on learning, listening, responding, and improving the ways we manage risk and embedding this into our ongoing operating model. I stand before you and seek re-election principally, I think, for 3 reasons. 1, I have the necessary skills and experience to continue to drive, support and deliver on the strategic repositioning and growth of the business, with a shared vision to create a more diverse and vibrant participant in New Zealand's capital markets ecosystem. Specifically, I'm very focused on using my domain knowledge and expertise to support the growth and development of the Smart Shares business as Chair of Smart Shares Limited, and the ongoing development of a rigorous risk management framework through my role as Chair of the ARC. Secondly, I've made a strong contribution to the repositioning and growth of NZX over the last 3 years, and I believe I will continue to do so. Specifically, we've been recognised by the market with a strong appreciation of the NZX share price over the last 3 years, and in particular a very strong TSR of 50.3% for the year ended 31 December 2020. Further, the growth of smart shares continues to accelerate. Earnings over the last 3 years up a healthy 27%, coupled with AUM growth of 88%. In my opinion, we are well on track to create the leading passive and ETF investment manager in the New Zealand market. And finally, I'm a passionate New Zealander and want a growing, vibrant and well-diversified New Zealand capital market with NZX at the centre that delivers for all stakeholders, importantly you the shareholders, but also importantly our customers and staff. I fully understand my obligations and duties if I'm elected by you as a director, and I take these responsibilities extremely seriously. Shareholders, it's a privilege to stand here today seeking re-election as a director of the New Zealand's Exchange, your representative on the board. I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lindsay. I move as an ordinary resolution that Lindsay Wright be re-elected as a director. Are there any questions from the floor on this resolution?
Rosie Doyle, are there any identified conflict of interest?
Just talk.
Hamish, do you have...
Oh, sorry, can we just get this?
Yeah, sorry, I heard...
Hi, I'm Rosie Doyle. Are there any identified or demonstrated conflict of interest?
Yeah, so I'll just, all directors identify the conflicts of interest they have, and with Lindsay, because she's not in the country, she has very little crossover with her particular interests. I can't think of anything. Is there anything that...
No, that's right. So her role with Hong Kong is on our interest register. It doesn't present immediate conflicts, but it's one that we keep an eye on. It's the only relevant matter.
Can I please also add the interest has been disclosed also to Sun Hong Kai and Co. I also do not trade the NZX stock, and also Sun Hong Kai does not trade the NZX stock.
Yep, okay. Any further questions on the floor? Okay, are there any questions from shareholders online?
No, there aren't. Thank you. No.
Okay, thank you. There appears to be no further discussion. We'll now turn to the voting for shareholders who have not already cast a postal or proxy vote. Shareholders should now submit their votes, select for, against or abstain alongside each resolution. Voting will be open until the close of the meeting. Once the votes have been cast, they will be counted by the company registrar Link Market Services and scrutinised by the company auditor. The results of today's meeting will be released to the market on completion of verification of voting. Before we take questions and complete voting, I would like to invite John Mcdonald to address the meeting.
Thank you very much, James, and thank you for those kind words earlier on. I do appreciate it. Good morning, everyone, and it's good to see you here today. So I first bought shares when I was 11 years old with the help of my dad through a broker called Glendinning in Palmerston North. And I remember receiving with quite some excitement the paper certificates for both of those stocks. And this was in the 80s, and that meant, of course, a little bit of a rocky ride with, among other things, the share market crash a while later, but that wasn't enough to deter me and my enthusiasm for the capital markets. That enthusiasm really, as an investor, has continued to grow ever since. And then after taking Trade Me through an IPO in 2011, I saw firsthand the benefits to a publicly listed issuer with access to capital and a new broad range of investors. And NZX's central role in the ecosystem that connects investors with businesses, and through that NZX's vital contribution to the economic prosperity of New Zealand and the quality of life of New Zealanders has always been very clear to me. And so it was an easy decision when I was asked to join the board back in 2013. And it has been an absolute privilege to serve on your board for the last 8 years. And every year has felt busy and eventful. So it's a challenge to look back and pull out particular highlights. But there are a few things that do leap out as being particularly memorable from a director's perspective. First, the rules and pricing changes and the enormous amount of hard work that both James and Mark mentioned that have been successful in driving fabulous increases in activity and liquidity on the exchange. It's helped to encourage swathes of new retail investors through diverse platforms, both new and old. And second, refocusing the business back to New Zealand and to the capital markets with divestments in rural media and an Australian grain exchange. And third, entry into funds management. And this was a key board decision and, to be honest, quite unpopular at the time, but one that in my view has proved extremely successful in fulfilling our two original objectives. First, enhancing our capital markets by accelerating ETFs and passive investing in New Zealand so that we could provide a fuller and more diverse offering to our investors. And second, it has delivered exceptional shareholder value. As Lindsay mentioned, as that part of the business has continued to grow strongly and perform very well since acquisition. And lastly, but perhaps most importantly, I've relished being part of the building of a strong team and culture led by both James and by Mark. When I look ahead, the core value proposition of the exchange is as strong as ever. Companies still need capital to fuel their operations and growth, and the last year has been a case study of that with the number of capital raisings that we've seen. Investors still need a place to put their money to achieve a fair return, more so than ever in fact in this environment of low interest rates and with the appetite that we've seen in the last month for our government to reduce the attractiveness of real estate as an asset class, something I was beginning to think wouldn't happen in my lifetime. Just how far we've come was recently cast into sharp relief for me when I set up 2 kids' accounts on Sharesies for my 10 and 12-year-old children so that they could start learning about investing. And it was a process that took me a few minutes on my phone and was worlds away from my introduction back in the 80s. The great momentum I see in the business leaves me as confident and optimistic about the NZX's prospects as ever, and I'm wholly supportive of the strategy laid out by Mark and the team. As I move on, I'll certainly remain a friend of NZX in my personal capacity as an investor, as well as a director of a participant and as a director of listed issuers. And I'll certainly miss the NZX team. You have an extremely hard-working chairman and CEO and a very capable board and leadership team. To my colleagues on the board, as well as the executive team and the wider staff at NZX, I'd like to say thank you for your support and your collegiality. I've valued the integrity, intellectual rigour and ambition that you've all shown for the business, and I wish you all the best for the future. And finally, thank you to NZX investors and stakeholders for your support over the last 8 years. I also wish you all the best.
Thank you, John, and thank you for your outstanding contribution. At this point, we open up to questions from on the financial results, the business update, and any other matters you'd like to raise. Please complete your voting while we take questions. Are there any items of general business from the floor to be discussed? Yep. I'll just wait until the mic.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Howard. My name is Howard. My name is Howard Zingle First of all, I'd like to thank you on behalf of shareholders for an extremely good effort that you've done this last year. I know it was difficult, and maybe the gods were kind to you in a way, but it is much appreciated. 53% increase in net value to the shareholders is appreciated. Also, thank you very much for the dividend. You pay out a considerable portion of earnings to shareholders, and we certainly appreciate that. If you could clarify your dividend policy, I would appreciate that. But thank you again, and thanks to the staff, and thank you also for coming to Taronga.
You're most welcome. Did you want clarification on the dividend policy, or?
I would appreciate that.
Do you want to do that? Yeah.
If this is, here we go. We pay out, our dividend policy states that we pay out between 80 and 110% of adjusted net profit.
It's the most enjoyable part of being a director, is paying dividends. Any other questions from the floor? Okay. Is there any questions online? I think there has been.
Yeah, we've got two questions here, James, two that had come in earlier and one that's just come in online. So just addressing the ones or two that have come in earlier, just reading the questions here from shareholders for everybody's benefit. The question reads, will there be more share fund options going to be introduced on top of the existing 21 that are available? I assume the question is referring to smart shares. There are a lot of money and investors that need more options to be able to make choices and diversify their investment portfolios. Would like to see more options such as Japanese companies and Asia Pacific funds, especially from Hong Kong and Singapore, built on the Memorandum of Understanding with SGX. So just to answer that question for our shareholder, Daryl Che. So just to clarify, we have 35 smart shares funds that are listed, and we review our product offering in smart shares at least annually and occasionally more often. Customer demand is the main factor we consider when launching new funds, and over recent years we've launched a series of ESG funds, a number of funds which rounds out our core series offering, and 2 thematic funds, a global healthcare tech equity fund and an automation and robotics fund. We currently offer an ESG Japanese equity ETF, an Asia Pacific equity ETF, alongside an emerging market equity ETF. We've recently announced our dairy partnership, which is the first undertaking with SGX to commercialise the MOU, and we look forward to building on this in the future. So hopefully that answers your question, Daryl. The second question that came in prior to the meeting was from Thomas Mann and Wrong Mann. And the question reads, do you think you should nurture a closer relationship with the major fund managers in New Zealand? And just to answer Thomas and Wrong's question, I would say the relationship with New Zealand fund managers actually takes quite a number of forms. Many of them are shareholders of ours, and we have a regular calling program to keep them informed of our progress, and I undertake that along with Graham Law, our CFO. They also purchase products off us, and data and indice products are the 2 examples of those. And we also speak to them on a wider market development matters, or on many wider market development matters. And the most recent example of this is the trading system upgrade project, where they've had a number of ideas that have been useful to defining the scope of the new features that we're looking to implement with that upgrade. All that said, there's always opportunities to deepen relationships with the market, and we have that as an ongoing priority. So hopefully for Thomas and Wrong, that answers their question. And I think we might have one that's come in online.
Yeah, we got one more question here online, so I'll just read that out, and probably one for you, Mark. So we've heard, this comes from, excuse pronunciation, Kaushik Patel. Hopefully got that right. So we've heard a lot of all the changes brought in with reforms and money spent on making it easier for New Zealand companies to list on our exchange, but we have hardly seen any new IPO or pipeline as compared to some of the other options for companies. So the question is, what is the bottleneck?
And just to respond to that question, and hopefully I actually might have already responded to most of it in the address I made, but we have opened up pathways to the listed market, and we are seeing a number of good examples of those being utilised. So the direct listing pathway is new and more refined. Obviously we had the IPO pathway, and there's a more streamlined pathway for an existing ASX listed issuer to list on our exchange using a foreign exempt regime. And I guess the examples I mentioned in the address, we've actually seen 9 new companies come to market through 2020, and all of those pathways were being utilised. And then in this year, so far, we hope to get a few more, we've actually had 3 companies list, again, a mixture of direct listings and IPOs. So we actually feel quite positive about what's in front of us with respect to prospects. Sarah and the team are doing a very, very good job at making sure our story is well known around the marketplace. And the prospects are from private owners and also from companies that are owned by some PE funds. So we see, we actually feel very good about it. And I guess the last thing I would say is we're seeing some excellent support, from the investment bankers, lawyers, and accounting firms, in encouraging these companies come to market.
Yeah, we've actually got a couple more come through here, or at least one. So probably another one for you, Mark. The new, and this is from Andrew Ott online, the new Nzx Auckland office meeting place sounds wonderful. Can you advise what the cost of this will be?
Yeah, no problem, Andrew. We're very proud of what we're actually going to try and create in Auckland. And, we absolutely need to, up our presence there because it is, a real engine room for the New Zealand economy. For the fit out, we will spend approximately $2 million on CapEx for that. And to turn it into something that is representative of a marketplace, we are using quite a lot of electronic equipment up there, so the ticker will move. And for those in Auckland who see the existing ticker, you'll note that it actually is shrinking at the moment as it is ageing. And to keep it running until we shift, we actually are taking some panels out that don't work, so we need a new ticker. That will cost us approximately $750,000. And the screens and displays that we will use on our floor will be approximately another $750,000. So it's not insubstantial, but we think from a marketing and an awareness and a presence, we need to actually up that in Auckland, and we think this is totally appropriate. So it looks like we've got another one here from Andrew Ott again. Would shareholders be able to have access or be able to log into the half-year and full-year results briefings? Absolutely. And what we tend to do these days with our half-year and full-year briefings is use electronic forms for that, so that is something that we can expand, and we will take that on board. Thank you, Andrew. One more from Andrew. Our dividend policy, if Nzx was to reduce its dividend, would it be able to grow the business and pursue more growth opportunities? I guess what we try and do here is we balance, obviously, not obligations, but certainly the interests of our shareholders with respect to a dividend and also the growth opportunities that we have in front of us. So we think the dividend is appropriate. We also think that we have enough resources and firepower to actually facilitate our growth. So at the moment, we think both of those are appropriate and don't intend to change it at this point.
Hamish? We'll just call for last questions now, and there'll be one last question if there is any.
There's just a follow-up question from one of our previous questionnaires, and it was referring to the last sentence, which talks about, where is the bottleneck for listings. And I guess with my answer, I was intending to convey that we actually don't see a huge bottleneck for new listings. So we're hopeful that the pipeline that we've got coming through will put us in very good shape. It looks like it's it, James.
Good, thank you, Mark. So that's bringing the meeting to a close. Just before we finish, I just thought I should acknowledge a legend of the capital markets and a former Nzx director in the audience, Neil Craig. Thank you for your attendance. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the formal business of Nzx's 2021 annual shareholder meeting. Thank you for your attendance.